Discover the incredible, heartwarming secrets. How 12th century chefs mastered cooking without modern tools. Amelia Thompson stood at the entrance of Thompson's table, her heartbeat echoing the memories of laughter and warmth that once filled the space. The faded turquoise walls held whispers of her grandmother's culinary magic, recipes passed down through generations, which bloomed with nostalgia every time she cooked. With a deep breath, Amelia tightened her apron, determination coursing through her veins. She knew she had inherited not just a diner but a legacy. Dust motes danced in the warm sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating an untold history. As she wiped down tables, her mind wandered to the heart of their small Pennsylvania town, the bustling farmers' market filled with fresh produce, the flag-draped porches where neighbors gathered to share stories, and the diner that had been a cornerstone of community spirit. "This place deserves life," Amelia murmured to herself, steadying a shaky breath. But the weight of expectations loomed large, especially as some townsfolk eyed her with a mix of skepticism and caution. On a spring cleaning day, Amelia uncovered her grandmother's treasured cookbook, yellowed pages filled with ancient 12th century recipes. The ornate scripts came alive in her mind, fragrant stews, delicate pastries, a blend of simplicity and grandeur. Excitement bubbled in her chest. What if she could host an event that joined these cherished recipes with her own modern twist? What if, somehow, it could mend the growing divide in her community? As Amelia mapped out her plans, it became clear that the path to revival would be anything but smooth. Pockets of resistance sprouted, with bitter whispers in coffee shops and the grocery aisle. "Who does she think she is?" one neighbor scoffed, shaking his head with disdain. Amelia felt their judgment like a chilly wind. With her mixed-race heritage, she stood at an intersection of love for tradition and a desire for innovation, a duality not easily understood in this tight-knit town. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the event arrived, drenched in sunshine and anticipation. Amelia transformed the diner with tables bedecked in vibrant plates of food. The fragrant aroma of historical flavors wafted through the air, wrapping around attendees like a hug. Yet, as she looked around, the tension was palpable. Lingering dialogues about authenticity buzzed like a swarm of bees just waiting to sting. A confrontation loomed when an older neighbor, known for his hardline views, stepped forward, his brow furrowing in disapproval. Amelia's heart raced. Here stood the very test of her mission. Would her passion for culinary heritage break the barriers of prejudice, or would lingering doubts shatter what could be a moment of connection? As the first plate was served, silence fell. Eyes bored into Amelia, expecting her to fail. A tremor of hope surged within her. Could this night be a turning point? Would warmth and understanding rise above age-old judgments? The future of Thompson's table, her grandmother's spirit, and Amelia's own dreams hung in the balance. Amelia stood behind the counter, her heart pounding with every second that passed. The smell of diverse spices and herbs mingled in the air, making her feel both empowered and vulnerable. The anxious energy in the diner swirled around her, pressing on her like a heavy blanket. A mix of excitement and fear coursed through her veins as she caught the gaze of Mrs. Henderson, the older neighbor whose frown felt like a thundercloud looming overhead. As Amelia set down the first dish, her grandmother's recipe for a savory stew, infused with herbs she had carefully selected from the market, she braced herself. This was no ordinary dish. It was a love letter to her family's history, a blend of the old and new, wrapped in the warmth of home. She could feel the eyes around the room, waiting with bated breath for the first bite. Mr. Jenkins, the local carpenter, took the plunge first. He scooped a generous portion onto his plate, glancing skeptically at his wife, a woman with a smile that often warmed even the coldest of days. She nodded encouragingly, and he hesitated before putting the food in his mouth. As the flavors burst, a flicker of surprise flashed across his face. It wasn't just food, it was a memory resurrected. Amelia watched as the corners of his mouth turned upward. "By God!" he mumbled, tasting the richness. It was a moment suspended in time, a silent nod to the past echoed in the shared experiences of generations. Amelia's heart soared, but Mrs. Henderson remained unmoved. With arms crossed and lips pressed tight, she looked on, unimpressed. As more townsfolk began to take their first taste, murmurs of appreciation rippled through the diner. Compliments floated in the air, at first hesitant, then more vocal, as if a dam had broken. "This is extraordinary! I never knew flavors like this could exist." The shift in energy was electric. Hopes began to bloom in Amelia's mind. Could they really be moving past the skepticism? Could food be the bridge to understanding? She moved through the crowd, exchanging smiles and small talk, soaking in the joy. Yet, as the plates emptied, Amelia caught sight of Mrs. Henderson's sour expression. The lady's disapproval cast a shadow over the joy blooming around her. Determined to reach out, Amelia approached her, holding a small dish of the modern dessert spiced fruit tarts inspired by her grandmother, but with a touch that was distinctly hers. "Would you like to try this?" Amelia asked softly, fear creeping back into her chest as she extended the plate. Mrs. Henderson glanced down, her brow furrowing further, as if weighing a lifetime of tradition against the dare to change. After what felt like an eternity, she begrudgingly took a bite. Amelia held her breath, desperate for a sign, any sign that she had succeeded. The seconds crawled by, silence enveloped them again, and Amelia studied the changes on the woman's face. Would a simple dessert bring down her walls? And then, inch by inch, a smile broke through the storm. It was slight, but it was there. "It's different," Mrs. Henderson murmured, almost in awe, as if reconciling two worlds. Before Amelia could respond, a surprise visitor burst through the door of the mayor, with a bright smile and applause that boomed in the diner. "I've heard incredible things," he announced, eyes twinkling. "What's going on here?" Amelia's stomach sank. This could go one of two ways. Was this a chance for the truth to emerge, or would it invite more scrutiny? The room fell silent as she stood at the crossroads of her community's acceptance and her own dreams. "Welcome to Thompson's table, where history meets innovation," she introduced herself, her confidence bubbling back. But just as she opened her mouth to explain the event, tension rippled through the room once more. Would the mayor's presence stoke the flames of excitement, or add to the growing doubts? The answer loomed, heavy and uncertain. The mayor took center stage, his enthusiasm filling the diner, yet Amelia felt a weight on her shoulders. All eyes turned to her. Would he announce a grand endorsement? Or would he scrutinize her efforts, call her to the stand and inspect every dish as if it were constructed of fragile glass? "Tell us about these amazing dishes," he invited, gesturing broadly. Amelia's heart raced. "Well, it's all about blending traditions," she began, voice quaking despite her courage. "Each dish here reflects my family's history, prepared with heart and—" "Heart and what?" Mrs. Henderson interjected, arms still crossed, her skepticism hanging heavily in the air. "They embody flavors from the past remixed with new influences," Amelia continued, trying to draw the older woman into the warmth radiating from her heart. "Just like life, right? We learn from the past to create something richer." The mayor nodded enthusiastically, "Absolutely. It's about community. It's how we connect." Amelia felt the tide turning. The clamoring voices of approval began to rise again, enthusiasm echoing across tables. Still, she could see Mrs. Henderson unmoved, as if holding on to the last remnant of tradition with a fierce grip. The mayor leaned in with a conspiratorial grin. "You know, I think we need a little competition around here." He chuckled, sparking laughter that suddenly felt liberating. "How about we hold a community cook-off? Everyone can present their recipes." The idea buzzed through the crowd, electric and alive. Amelia could feel the thrill igniting hope in faces, excitement similar to what had filled her as she breathed life into Thompson's table. A unique concept, bringing generations together over shared meals. Yet, As fire ignited in some eyes, Amelia noticed Mrs. Henderson's jaw tighten. A competition? That'll only highlight divisions, not bridge them, she muttered, shaking her head. A cloud hovered, darkening Amelia's spirits. Just when she felt momentum building, the old ways threatened to encircle her vision once more. No! No! She protested, stumbling over her words. It can celebrate our backgrounds. It's about respect and honoring where we came from. Or it'll reinforce division, Mrs. Henderson replied, glaring. You think it'll be that simple? Amelia felt a knot tighten in her gut. Did the mayor's idea instigate an exciting new chapter, or did it hold the danger of further alienation? Every heartbeat echoed with possibility. Let us not dwell on the negativity, the mayor interjected, clapping his hands. Your passion is contagious, Amelia. We'll turn this into a festival. Bring it all. Music, community, food. The room buzzed with excitement again, yet a sliver of doubt gnawed at Amelia. As she glanced to Mrs. Henderson, she saw a heart seemingly barricaded, a defensive wall rising. Was this what everyone needed? Or was it an act of self-sabotage? The evening wore on, laughter crescendoing, conversation shifting, but Amelia couldn't shake the unease that weighted her heart. Just then, as she picked up a plate from the counter, there came a small explosion, a glass shattering on the floor. The room paused, startled. Eyes darted toward her again, the laughter stilled. There it was again, the tension. What happened now could define everything. Would it spark outrage? Would it derail the momentum she'd begun to build, or could it offer the chance to truly connect? Amelia took a deep breath, bracing herself against the tide, realizing it was more than just food items being served. It was hope on a plate, and it rested on her shoulders now, more than ever. Whatever happens, I'll fight for this community, she thought, resolve hardening in her chest. Because at that moment she knew the real battle was just beginning. The room remained tense after the glass shattered, shards glinting ominously on the floor like jagged stars fallen from the sky. Amelia's breath caught in her throat as she locked eyes with Mrs. Henderson, who wore an expression that seemed to scream, I told you so. In those silent moments, doubt wrapped around Amelia like a fog, and she could sense the uncertainty seeping into her skin, chilling her resolve. Is everyone all right? She called out, her voice slightly shaky but determined to break the tension. It was a thin line she walked, juggling her nerves and the energy in the diner. Just as she stepped toward the mess, ready to clean and salvage the moment, the mayor chimed in. Let us use this, he exclaimed, waving a hand like a magician conjuring off from nowhere. A toast to Amelia. Here's to new beginnings, accidents turning into opportunities. His infectious enthusiasm slowly spread through the crowd, chatter buzzing back to life as people began to respond. Amelia glanced around, observing the faces of neighbors and longtime friends, their smiles returning, though tinged with hesitation. Mrs. Henderson, still standing disapprovingly, crossed her arms tighter as if bracing herself against the gale. This isn't a game, you know, Mayor. Kitchen disasters aren't a joke, she remarked sharply. Hers was a voice that sliced through the fragile thread of hope. Maybe not, the mayor replied, his tone soothing yet firm. But they can lead to something wonderful. Amelia has shown us the heart of our community already. Maybe tonight can turn those doubts into understanding. The crowd murmured, and Amelia felt something shift within her like the wind gently nudging the leaves of an ancient tree, urging them to sway. She stepped forward, a spark igniting deep within her. Mrs. Henderson, I respect your views. Truly. It's not about showcasing divisions, it's about combining our stories. And sometimes it all starts with recognizing the fragments, the broken pieces. As she spoke, she began to gather the shards from the floor, carefully placing them in a small dish. She felt the rawness of vulnerability surging from her, but she knew it would resonate. It had to. Life can be messy, after all. Just like cooking. But I think we have the chance to turn something fragmented into a beautiful creation. A soft silence draped over the diner, the kind that felt like everyone had collectively held their breath. Then, unexpectedly, the old man in the corner, the one who had been quietly observing, nodded slowly. I reckon she's right. We've all been there. Others around him started to murmur in agreement, their voices mending the fragile silence. And what if, Amelia continued, emboldened by the shift, we highlight our diverse heritages in this cook-off? We can learn from one another, share tales, and discover our similarities. I promise you, it would be a celebration, not a competition. There was a glimmer in the room, whispers of approval cascading like a warm current. The mood began to flicker and dance, embers of hope replacing the shadows of doubt. Amelia's heart raced, bolstered by the support that began to bloom. Mrs. Henderson's expression softened slightly, crack in her armor showing. It's not easy for everyone to embrace change, you know, she replied, her tone less combative. But perhaps there's something to this after all. If we hear each other's stories, that's it, the mayor exclaimed. Imagine a festival filled with recipes that tell stories, the past, present, and future all in one plate. Amelia let the idea roll over her like a soothing wave. The festival, the community coming together. But deep down, fear still lingered like a whisper. What if it didn't work? What if the shadows of doubt returned? Yet as she looked into the eyes of her neighbors, each glimmer headed in her direction, she felt anchored in resolve. A firm foundation of hope sprouted within her. Then let us do it, she said finally, a broad smile on her face. A festival it is. May it be a new chapter for all of us. As the laughter and cheers erupted once more, Amelia embraced the communal energy swirling around her. But even as excitement surged, the deep, inexplicable feeling in her gut didn't fully let go. What if she wasn't ready for the trials ahead? Her heart raced with the thrill of possibility, and the fear of what was to come, glancing one last time at Mrs. Henderson. The journey would challenge every ounce of belief she had in herself and the community. Because through the shimmering joy, she knew that the hardest tests were still yet to be faced. What conflicts awaited as the cook-off drew closer? Would the community truly unite? The echoes of hope clashed with rising anxiety, leaving Amelia both excited and apprehensive. Amelia spent the next few days immersed in planning the festival, her mind racing with ideas and possibilities. She sat at a table in the diner, flipping through notes and scribbled recipes, each piece of paper a fragment of hope and hesitation. Bright sunlight streamed through the window, casting warm patterns across the floor, yet the glow couldn't entirely chase away the shadows that flitted at the edges of her thoughts. "Amelia!" called out Marissa, her best friend and an eternal source of optimism. "You're drowning in paper. Come help me pick out flowers for the festival. We need to make this place sparkle." Amelia looked up, smiling at the enthusiasm in Marissa's voice. "You're right, flowers will definitely brighten things up. Let us go." As they made their way to the local florist, Amelia felt excitement mingled with dread. Making everything perfect felt like a monumental task. The pressure of the upcoming cook-off burrowed in her mind, a seed of doubt taking root. What if people didn't come? What if there were fights over the recipes? What if Mrs. Henderson opposed the idea entirely? Flowers burst forth in an array of colors in the shop, each bloom a testament to growth and renewal. Marissa pointed to a bunch of cheerful daisies. "These yellows!" she exclaimed. "They remind everyone of sunshine and happiness." Amelia laughed, gratefully accepting the lightness her friend offered. The tension swirled like the petals dancing in the air around her. As they arranged the blossoms, Marissa shared her excitement about which recipes she planned to bring. "I can't wait to make my grandmother's pasta. It's such a crowd pleaser." But with each shared excitement, Amelia's stomach twisted. What if no one else feels the same about their dishes? What if I mess things up leading the festival? Marissa paused, her brow furrowed. "Hey, it's not just on you. This is about the community. If they see your passion, they'll want to join in." What if she could shine just as brightly as those daisies? This wasn't solely Amelia's event. It was a tapestry woven from everyone's stories and contributions. That realization sparked a new strength in her. The days passed in a blur of packing, paperwork, and planning. Neighbors stopped by the diner, eager to contribute. They brought recipes, stories, and the promise of support. Old-timers like Mr. Wallace passed down tales of their signature cheesecakes, while new families shared spicy chili recipes from their homes. A week before the festival, Amelia organized everyone into teams, pairing the seasoned cooks with newer faces. They gathered at the diner, laughter spilling into the air, flavors swirling around them like a comforting embrace. Amelia watched, heart swelling, as the community began to come alive. But then, the nagging doubts crept back. What if we can't get along? She overheard Mrs. Henderson mumble to a fellow cook. Not everyone respects traditions. The shadow of uncertainty loomed. Mrs. Henderson is just worried, Marissa whispered, catching Amelia's anxious glance. She's trying to protect what she loves. Amelia took a breath and stepped forward. It's okay to feel that way, she began softly, her voice cutting through the chatter. What if we celebrate those traditions? We want to be a part of each other's stories, don't we? The room quieted, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Mrs. Henderson's eyes flickered with vulnerability, but doubts still clung. Traditions are deep-rooted, Amelia. They don't just vanish overnight. No, they don't, Amelia replied. But they can grow, just like flowers. As we exchange recipes and stories, we expand our roots. The murmur of agreement sparked from the crowd, encouraging her. That night, Amelia couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, worry gnawing at her insides. The success of the upcoming festival felt like a ticking clock. But what if this wasn't just about the cook-off? What if this was her chance to unite a community bound by shared stories? Just then, a light bulb flickered in her mind. Perhaps it was more than just about food. It was about connection, understanding, a new chapter in the history of their town. As dawn broke and the sun began to rise, illuminating every corner of her world, the idea blossomed fully. But as she brushed her teeth, an unexpected thought tripped her heart. What if, in all this, something and someone unexpected emerged to challenge their unity? Just as she felt clarity, a wave of uncertainty crashed in. The morning of the festival dawned clear and crisp. Amelia's heart raced with anticipation as she stepped into the diner, now transformed into a vibrant hub of energy and preparation. Colorful banners floated in the gentle breeze, and the aroma of fresh baked goods filled the room, just as she had imagined. She felt a spark of hope, tempered by a hint of anxiety lurking in the pit of her stomach. Marissa buzzed around with the same energy that had propelled Amelia forward. Did you see how many people are setting up stalls? We're going to need more tables, she announced, her eyes gleaming like the flowers they had chosen days before. Amelia took a moment to soak in the scene. Tables were adorned with homemade signs listing the dish names, each voice echoing with laughter and talk of secret ingredients. It was more than she had expected, yet those unsettling doubts that had plagued her since the planning began prodded at her thoughts once again. What if the festival was not as welcoming as they hoped? What if tensions over recipes arose right then and there? Stay focused, Ames, she told herself, shaking her head to banish any idea that could slow her down. You've got this. Hours ticked by. Warm sun rays stretched out across the pavement as children scampered around, their giggles intertwining with the sizzling sounds of food being prepared. Amelia checked on the various booths every few minutes, beaming with pride at the sight of community members working side by side. From the seasoned chefs sharing techniques to the new cooks nervously following the steps of their recipes, it was a beautiful blend. Then, just as the first guests began to trickle in, Amelia's heart sank. She saw Mrs. Henderson flicking through recipe cards at her booth, brow furrowed in concentration. Next to her stood a newer family who had just moved to town, eyes wide and uncertain. Amelia squinted as Mrs. Henderson crossed her arms, shaking her head. Maybe they're not ready for all this change, Marissa said quietly, leaning closer to Amelia as if she could feel the tension crackling in the air. Amelia hesitated, her thoughts tumbling over one another. But we can't disappoint Mrs. Henderson. She's been here forever, and her family's recipes mean the world to her. Let us bridge that gap, Marissa suggested, her determination sparking hope. You're the one who brought everyone together. Talk to her, Remind her why we're celebrating. Taking a deep breath, Amelia nodded. She left Marissa to help set up another booth and approached Mrs. Henderson, every step heavy with nerves. Mrs. Henderson? Amelia started, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. I see you're worried. But this festival is about sharing, isn't it? We can't do it alone. It's about connection, about us as a community. Mrs. Henderson's gaze softened just a fraction. I know, she sighed, a crack forming in the wall she had built around her traditions. But it's hard for some of us. What if they don't respect the recipes? They just don't understand. Amelia's heart swelled. We've got to teach and learn from each other. It's a chance, not just for the food, but for all of us to weave our stories into one beautiful tapestry. The older woman regarded Amelia, her expression unreadable. Just then, a couple of kids rushed past, laughing as they chased after a balloon, their excitement infectious. Suddenly, something shifted in Mrs. Henderson's eyes. Maybe it's time to change, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. As they stood there, hope flickering between them, the festival began to unfold. People gathered, drawn together by the cooking, the food, the laughter. But Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that beneath the surface, insecurities and fears still lurked. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in vivid hues, she felt the weight of what might come next. What if, as the evening progressed, buried tensions erupted, threatening the fragile bonds they were just beginning to form? Was this unity truly as solid as she hoped, or would the festival reveal cracks she hadn't anticipated? The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the festival grounds. Laughter rang out, but Amelia felt a tightening in her chest. She wanted to trust that the day would be a triumph, bringing everyone closer together. Yet, the moment she caught sight of Mrs. Henderson's furrowed brow again, it sent a ripple of dread through her. As the first few people flocked to the booths, Amelia could see a mix of excitement and hesitation. The new family looked lost beneath the swirling sea of eager festival-goers. She stilled, watching Mrs. Henderson's booth. A brave newcomer ventured forward, plate in hand. He took a careful step, glancing over at Mrs. Henderson, who stood rigid like a stone statue. Hello, ma'am. What do you recommend? The young man asked. His smile was genuine, but uncertainty cloaked him. Emotions washed over Mrs. Henderson's face, confusion, and then a spark of recognition. Try the cornbread, she offered, not unkindly. Her voice gained strength. It pairs well with the chili over there. Amelia's heart fluttered. Was that a step toward openness? Marissa rushed over, her excitement bubbling up. Look! The chili booth has a line, but Mrs. Henderson is giving feedback. This is amazing. Amelia nodded, wary but hopeful. We're breaking ground, slowly, but there was still tension hovering. Amelia turned to the booth across the way where she spotted a tense gathering. What had once been merry chatter was now a squeeze of anxious laughter. A couple of longtime locals glared at the new family trying to navigate their way through the ingredients of a recipe. Amelia could sense the weight in the air. The fractures she feared were deepening. This was the moment she had dreaded. Let us not let this escalate, Amelia whispered to Marissa, who sprang into action alongside her. They weaved through the crowd, reaching the opposing sides just as one voice began to rise. I can't believe they're trying to change our traditions, an older gentleman exclaimed. His words sliced through the laughter and mixed chatter. A ripple of murmurs spread, and Amelia rushed forward, her heart racing. Wait! She exclaimed. The crowd turned, eyes wide with curiosity. I understand, she continued, searching for the right words. Change can feel daunting. But remember why we're here. This festival is about sharing, about healing as a community. We're not losing our traditions, we're expanding them. The older gentleman bristled, his defenses high. But what if their way is not as good as ours? Maybe it's not about better or worse, Amelia replied, her voice steady. It's about coming together, learning from one another. It's about love and connection. She looked around. Faces softened, some nodded slowly. Mrs. Henderson stepped forward, her own voice quaking. I had my doubts too, she admitted, glancing at the newcomers, who looked small but hopeful. But I know the heart that goes into every dish. Let us share what we have. Amelia felt warmth bloom as the crowd reacted. The ripples of tension began to recede, melting into murmurs of agreement. Even so, a shadow lurked still, an unease that one can't easily shake off. Could this peaceful moment stand the test of time? As families mingled, grabbing bits and pieces from each booth, the sky transformed into a canvas streaked with purples and oranges. Amelia smiled, overcoming the swirling fears. But doubts still lingered in the back of her mind. What would happen as the festival stretched into the night? Would their unity truly hold strong in the hours to come, or would unresolved issues rise again, shattering the fragile peace they had fought so hard to create? The fire pits crackled as twilight embraced the festival grounds, sending a soothing warmth into the evening air. Flickering lanterns lit up the faces gathered close, their glow reflecting the mixture of hope and apprehension still swirling around Amelia. She watched as children danced under the stars, their laughter piercing the wall of uncertainty that had solidified earlier. Amelia could sense that momentum had shifted, but she knew it was delicate. Mrs. Henderson stood beside her booth, hands gripping the edges like a lifeline, eyes flicking between the newcomers and her loyal patrons. What if they don't appreciate our customs? She whispered, doubt creeping back into her voice. They will, if we show them, Amelia urged gently, her own heart hammering with worry. Everyone here is searching for connection, just like we are. Let us give them that chance. As if on cue, a trio from the new family approached Mrs. Henderson's booth. They were young, vibrant, their faces a mixture of trepidation and excitement as they scrutinized the lineup of dishes. The older woman among them, a motherly figure, took a deep breath, clearly gathering strength before stepping closer. Hi! We're really excited to try everything. Do you have any recommendations for someone who loves spicy food? She asked, her voice unsure yet warm. Mrs. Henderson softened, her brow easing as she realized they weren't a threat but neighbors looking to share a meal, just like everyone else. If you like heat, my chili is made with just the right kick, she said, smiling genuinely for the first time. The newcomers beamed with gratitude, and Amelia felt a weight lift. Change was slow, but it was happening. She turned, scanning the crowd. Some of the locals still stood on the fringes, arms crossed, but others were mingling, conversing, and sampling dishes from various booths. Marissa sidled up beside Amelia, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Look! That family is sharing their recipe for samosas with the little girl from next door, she exclaimed, pointing to where a small group gathered around, laughter bouncing between them like fireworks. That's what it's all about, Amelia replied, her heart swelling with hope. But just as the warmth spread, a familiar voice rang out again, deeper this time, more filled with disdain. This isn't how we do things in our town. The older gentleman from earlier had returned, discontent written all over his weathered face. Heads turned, the atmosphere thickening as a hush settled like a blanket over the crowd. Amelia stepped forward. Can we talk? She asked him. We all want the same thing here, a stronger community. Have you tried any of the new dishes? He huffed, eyebrows knitting together. Tradition is what defines us, he asserted, but there was a shake in his voice, a hint that perhaps he wasn't as firm in his beliefs as he wanted to appear. What if tradition evolves? She countered gently. Traditions can embrace the new without losing what's unique about us. The tension seemed to shift. People listened closely now, their faces uncertain but intrigued. Amelia felt the air crackle with the possibility of change. But just as voices started to engage in a dialogue, laughter erupted from the other side of the grounds, piercing through the heavy silence. A group of teenagers had started a spirited dance-off, drawing attention and cheers from those nearby. Amelia glanced at the gentleman, locking eyes for a heartbeat. See? Joy. It's still here, even amidst change, she offered quietly, her heart racing. But as his lips twitched in what could have been a smile or a frown, she couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was still ahead. Could they truly hold on to this fragile unity, as more challenges dawned with the night, as fireworks began to light up the sky in bursts of color, each pop brought fresh questions to Amelia's mind. Would the rooms of hearts still stay open once they extinguished? Would this moment remain a beacon of hope, or would the shadows of the past reclaim their hold? Amelia felt her thoughts swirl like the fireworks exploding above. Each vibrant burst sparked a flicker of hope, but it tangled with an anxiety she couldn't shake. She looked back at the crowd, a mix of familiar faces and new ones, and sensed that tonight would be pivotal. The energy surged, wrapping her in the warmth of camaraderie but mixed with uncertainty. "Let us dance!" Marissa shouted, breaking the moment. She spun into the crowd, laughing, and some nearby locals hesitated, then joined her, their movements tentative at first but growing bolder with every beat. Amelia smiled, but her focus remained on the older gentleman. She saw his brow furrow, wrestling with something deeper. "Sometimes traditions can punish more than they honor," she murmured, hoping he could hear her over the music and laughter. His gaze drifted to the dancing teenagers, and for a fleeting moment, Amelia caught a softness in his eyes. She took a deep breath, ready to meet him halfway. "Tell me, what do you love about our town? What makes it special for you?" He shifted, jaw tightening at the question. "I love the history, the way we've always come together to keep things the same. It's safe." Amelia nodded, understanding his fear of losing what was familiar. "But is it really safe if it means shutting ourselves off from others?" Before the older man could reply, Mrs. Henderson called out, "Who wants some freshly made chili?" The scent wafted through the air, weaving through the crowd and inviting smiles. "See? Food always brings people together," Amelia encouraged. She stepped back to the booth, her heart racing, waiting to see if he'd follow. She held her breath as he hesitated, then approached the booth with a wary curiosity. "Just a taste," he muttered, and the sound of his gruff voice breaking through the tension sent ripples through the observers nearby. Mrs. Henderson dished out a small cup, the steam curling up like whispers of reassurance. "Best chili in town. Try it with some cornbread." The gentleman's eyes softened again, glancing at the vibrant platter of golden cornbread as if it were a new possibility. As he took a small bite, the crowd grew quiet. His expression shifted, the spice igniting something within him. "This isn't bad," he admitted, even managing a grin. It wasn't grand, but it was a start, a tiny crack in the armor of tradition. Encouraged by his small breakthrough, Amelia took a chance. "Our heritage can live on, but it can also grow. Look at the students dancing. They're blending everything, mixing flavors and stories. Can't we do the same?" The older man chewed slowly, contemplating. The music thrummed, pulling people in, and as others joined the dance, laughter bubbled up again, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. And just like that, something shifted again. Amelia saw locals stepping forward to question flavors, to ask about the dishes being shared. Children were offering their own creations, little hands holding up colorful treats, their faces alight with joy. But just as she began to let hope swell fully in her chest, a loud crash echoed, shattering the fragile peace. A group of teenagers, not paying attention, had clumsily knocked over a stand piled with decorated pastries, scattering them across the ground. Gasps mixed with laughter, the atmosphere again balanced on a knife's edge. Would this spark anger or more laughter? Amelia held her breath. Would this moment bring them closer together, or would it pull them apart, revealing the tension that lingered just below the surface? "Sometimes it's in the messiness that we find the best parts of ourselves," she whispered to the gentleman beside her, hoping he would see it too as the chaos unfolded. The laughter of children rang out again, and she couldn't help but wonder whether they could navigate this disruption with the same spirit of community they'd been building. Would they come together to help clean up, or would they retreat back into their separate worlds? As she watched the crowd react, her heart raced. The real test was about to begin. As the pastries tumbled, a hush blanketed the festival. Amelia felt the moment hang like a pendulum. Would laughter or anger ignite? The tension was palpable. People hesitated, unsure whether to rush in to help or stay distant. But then, like a spark igniting dry leaves, giggling erupted from a group of youngsters. A few brave souls scampered forward, gathering sweets as if they were precious treasures. One boy, dancing around the fallen pastries with dramatic flair, lifted a donut like a trophy and exclaimed, "Look! The great pastry adventure begins!" The crowd erupted in laughter, breaking the wall of awkwardness. Amelia smiled, hope bubbling again in her chest. As if on cue, others joined in, leaning down to help, their hands brushing against remnants of frosting and dough while sharing light-hearted comments. Within seconds, the scene transformed. Adults who had been tense just moments before were now chuckling, kneeling to aid in the cleanup. Mrs. Henderson, still standing at her booth, watched the shifts unfolding around her. A smile crept across her face, warmth blooming where skepticism had reigned. "Here goes nothing," Amelia mused, seizing the moment. "Why don't we turn this into a game? Whoever collects the most pastry pieces gets a prize." The crowd buzzed with energy, a ripple of excitement swept through them. Kids raced to gather, adults cheered, and the joy of togetherness threaded its way back. Peace settled like dawn, illuminating the festival with hope. Mrs. Henderson leaned towards Amelia, her eyes sparkling. "You know, past connections sometimes tugs us in ways we forget. We can't let a little mess separate us." "I think you're seeing it," Amelia responded, her heart swelling. "Bringing everyone together starts with appreciating the mess. Change isn't scary if we foster community." The evening wore on. Families and friends mingled, sharing stories over their dishes, infusing the air with sense of comfort and exuberance. Amelia marveled as she walked through the sea of smiling faces. Catch-your-breath moments blended into laughter, while community members invited newcomers to join, quirks and all. The old gentleman's laughter rang like a bell, echoing through the night, a sound Amelia would cherish. For every ounce of resistance, a wave of connection enveloped them, softening hearts. Then, the moment arrived. A marriage between old and new arrived on the central stage as Amelia stood, nervously gripping the mic. "Thank you all for being here tonight, not just for the food, but for one another. Tonight proves that our town is a mosaic made from pieces of every history, cool or quirky. We're blending flavors like our lives." Before she finished, applause erupted, fueled by the evening's joy. Amelia couldn't help but beam, the warmth enriching her spirit. "And I have a surprise," she continued, feeling momentum swell. "For our first ever community cook-off, I want each of you to share your own family recipe." The response was thunderous, cheers cascading like waves crashing on a sunny shore. The tide was shifting toward understanding and inspiration. The mayor stepped forward, eyes sparkling, hand raised. "Let us celebrate who we are as a community. I propose a year-long festival of food and culture shared together." Amelia's heart soared, raining hope surging through her veins. "Yes!" she yelled, nearly bursting with emotions. "Let us embrace our roots and branches, and grow together." By night's end, Amelia stood, watching the festival unfold around her. An interconnected web of stories, joys, and accomplishments flourished where once only doubt had lived. Mrs. Henderson and the older gentleman shared stories with newcomers, the lines of tradition blurring and blending together. As the last fireworks bloomed overhead, Amelia knew this was only the beginning. The path ahead was still uncertain, but no longer did it feel laden with burdens. Instead, it shimmered with promise, a community reclaiming their history while embracing a bright future, imperfect but beautiful. "Here's to all of us," Amelia whispered, feeling the warmth of her grandmother's spirit wrapping around her. "Together, we'll create something extraordinary." Little did she know, this moment of unity was setting the stage for even bigger transformations. The journey continued, and she felt every heartbeat echo in solidarity. Because tonight proved that even when the future seems foggy, hearts united could illuminate the way forward, one shared meal at a time. And as the final fireworks sparkled against the darkened sky, Amelia understood this wasn't just a celebration of food, but a celebration of family, friendship, change, and a step toward creating a legacy richer than any recipe could contain. So, are you feeling that spark of change, just like Amelia? Now is the moment to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this incredible transformation. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories filled with inspiration. Leave a like now to keep the energy going. Your support feeds the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending and let us keep the conversation alive. Don't wait not even one more second. Let's embrace the journey together.